Welcome back, I'm Dina Baer, and we're beginning day 4 of this year's AGU TV programming at Fall Meeting 2020. On today's show, the theme is Shaping the Future of Science Through Diversity of Ideas and People, a topic of true importance and one incredibly pertinent in today's scientific world. Before we dive into that, let's get a rundown from our AGU expert, Rosie Oakes.
Hello, I'm Rosie Oakes, and I'm an early career member of AGU's Scientific Council and a member of the Council leadership team. And I'm here to give you my top highlights for today, the 10th of December. Today is another full day of scientific programming, starting early in the morning in the US to late in the day in Australia. This year's virtual online meeting gives us the opportunity to showcase a great diversity of scientists, geography, and science. And as AGU thinks about shaping the future of science, it's really important to highlight diversity, equity, and inclusion in all that we do. There are 2 poster sessions focused on developing a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion in all our work and in all our places. I'm going to go along to learn about what I can do to help facilitate the change. Talking about the future of science, you can learn about new research being done by AGU's award-winning student members. Last year's Outstanding Student Presentation Award winners are giving presentations in an e-learning session today from 5:30 till 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'm looking forward to attending a poster session which is co-convened by 4 AGU sections: the Global Environmental Change section, Science and Society, Natural Hazards, and GeoHealth. The session will discuss disparities in the impacts of climate-related extreme events on people and communities. The posters will be available all day in session GC054. Today's plenary is the agency lecture, which will be given by Dr. Sethuraman Panchanathan, the new director of the National Science Foundation in the United States. Finally, it's a really exciting day for all my fellow ocean nerds, as it's our named lecture day. Drew Harville is the 2020 Rachel Carson Lecturer. We've all spent 2020 worrying about COVID-19 pandemic on land, but Dr. Harville is going to talk to us about pandemics in the ocean and how they impact marine biota. I hope you're enjoying exploring the full meeting and that these highlights help you navigate the day. I'm looking forward to engaging with new materials and meeting new people in this virtual space, but I will miss walking around San Francisco when my brain needs a break. Be safe and enjoy the meeting.
Let's begin today's tour of organizations doing incredible science around the world.
Antarctica is such a fundamental component of how the planet works, yet some of the science, some of the processes connecting Antarctica to the global system are incredibly difficult to measure and very challenging to model. And so we're working on that, but we're working on it for future understanding. It's critical that we understand how sea level rise will work over the next 200 years. It's critical that we understand how the ocean processes will connect to how we live our lives.
Climate change is a social problem. It affects all sectors of society. It does not discriminate, so we are all affected by it. The more knowledge we have and share to all of society now, the better we can convert that knowledge to action.
The Earth Resources Lab, the ERL, is the home of applied geophysics at MIT. That's the lab that studies all questions having to do with the subsurface, both in science and engineering. The mission of the lab has evolved through the years and is now strongly aligned with goals of sustainability and renewable energy. So we look at questions such as carbon capture and sequestration. how to deploy and prospect for geothermal energy. Where should it be done, and again, in what kind of formations? And all sorts of questions related to monitoring of activities in the subsurface, such as seismic imaging, for instance. So those are all the activities that are now geared toward sustainable energy.
Grace Bulltail is here now, Assistant Professor of Environmental Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The theme of this meeting is the future of science. In a perfect world, how would science be different in the future?
Science, broadly defined, has some limitations, particularly in work that is done with underrepresented communities. I think that science could be more participatory, particularly for those communities to be more engaged in research and in science, rather than being researched, being the subjects of research.
Your research focuses on the intersection of watershed management and tribal sovereignty. What have you learned from that work that you would share with other folks at AGU?
My work with water resource management and natural resources is very much informed by the policies and the issues that affect tribal communities. And my work so far has looked at how tribes can use their unique positions to really seek interventions to ways that tribal communities can have more authority over their waterways, which really is central to the problem.
More generally, how do sovereignty, land tenure, and earth science intersect? And what are some of the issues and opportunities?
Tribes are uniquely positioned to manage all resources that are under their lands, water, timber, mineral resources. I've been looking at the problems with land tenure and how that ultimately impacts the resource management, particularly water resources. And I think that has not been documented in a way that would be helpful for tribal communities. Tribes have so many things to address in managing their resources, and are often understaffed, really have a little capacity to manage environmental programs, and then in addition to having other environmental impacts from resource development on or near their tribal communities.
Do you know about Science to Action sessions and workshops at the fall meeting? Science to Action works by partnering with communities and working with decision makers. Different sessions focus on aspects of action, such as building partnerships with non-scientists, how to increase community resilience, and how to enable data. Review the scientific program to see the series of sessions, including an innovation session next week.
I love space. Like, you cannot imagine how much I love space. And for me to think that I was going to be able to design something, to build something that comes from my head that I worked on physically for years, and then it's going to be out there and it's going to be doing science. It's my dream, and it's what I was looking for in a PhD.
care about the ocean health and its relationship with the climate system and we, the human being.
The Xiamen Symposium on Marine Environmental Sciences has grown to be one of the largest international conferences on marine science in Asia.
That's it for us today. But remember, we'll be back each day of the meeting with more exclusive material. And don't forget to keep up with all the latest developments online and follow all of the fall meeting buzz on Twitter via #AGU20. We'll see you tomorrow.